Hi, der Max hier von Session in Frankfurt. Ich habe hier den Gernen dabei von Universal Audio und wie ihr seht, haben wir hier ein paar neue, überarbeitete Apollo-Interfaces und da werde ich jetzt ein bisschen mit dem Gernen drüber sprechen. I just told our viewers you have some new interfaces. The Apollo range has been renewed. We see the Apollo 16 here, Apollo 8, and the new Apollo 8P. And we also know the Apollo Twin. That hasn't changed yet, but it's still interesting for the whole setup. So tell me, what changed? What's new?
Well, the top story is certainly the new interfaces, and we've redesigned the A to D and D to A circuits on this, and we've really improved the actual physical specs. So we're getting the best-in-class dynamic range and THD plus noise specs of any interface up to anything that's twice as much. So we're really proud about the way they sound. The most important thing for Universal Audio is the way things sound. So not only do we work on the actual measurements and specs, but we listen to things very extensively and exhaustively. So these passed some really extensive listening tests. Hands down, everybody selected these as the best sounding converters that we could possibly produce. On top of that, we're running real-time UAD plugins, of course, which is not new or news, but we're also, it's part of the Apollo workflow to be able to run UAD plugins, to have unison mic preamps where you can have your choice of Neve or API or UA mic preamps and actually have physical impedance change as you're changing through the model. So you use your mic collection and get a variety of flavors out of the mic preamp. So not just one preamp in here, there's 5 on each channel. Then we've done a number of other things. We've added unison technology to our high Z inputs. So as you plug in an instrument like a guitar or a bass, we load the impedance of the 1/4-inch jack as well, according to the equipment that we're modeling. So for example, the raw plug-in.
For all the stomp boxes that you introduced, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so you get the frequency response, and the pickup response is different based on what the impedance is. We've done some usability functionality, adding some LEDs to the switches on the front. We've added input and output metering. We have a dedicated alt monitor switch, so you can switch between your monitors with a single button. We've added a programmable function switch, which lets you do dim or mono or switch to alt 2 if you have 2 sets of speakers. It's a programmable switch that'll allow us to add more functionality in the future. We've changed the headphone circuit, completely redesigned headphone circuit, so it's now a digitally controlled analog output.
Just like the outputs?
Yes, and so that gives us more control, more resolution, and just an overall better performance altogether. And then the whole family is connected by Thunderbolt. So for a Mac-equipped, Thunderbolt-equipped Mac, all of this is connected by a single cable. So that's big news for us, because we're sending all of the PCIe audio data, the DSP mixer code, and the star distributed clock across a single cable. And you can mix and match up to 4 Apollos, either the next generations or the existing silver Apollos that are Thunderbolt equipped, up to 4 Apollos in a single system, or up to 6 UAD devices total. So you could have 4 Apollos and 2 Thunderbolt satellites, for example, up to 6 devices in a system. It's also worth noting that we've added a 4th new offering, which is the Apollo Firewire. All of the new next generation Apollos don't have Firewire at all, and then the Apollo Firewire is a silver Apollo with the Thunderbolt card removed. It's certainly upgradable should you move to Thunderbolt in the future, but the price has been reduced and it's available in the quad only. So.
All right, since you mentioned quad, all these are quad only except for the Apollo 8. You can still get that in duo.
That's correct.
And of course, the Twin is still solo or duo.
Yeah, that's right. Availability, this is really exciting too. We tend to not pre-announce things, so available first day of Messe, the Apollo 8 is shipping in the channel now, and then directly following in Q2, which is just a month away, we have the 8P, the 16, and the Apollo Firewire will all be shipping within a couple of days.
All right, with the new interfaces, of course, we have the new console software too. We can show me a little what's new about that. Yeah. So this is console version 2.
This is console
completely new.
That's right. We introduced this in NAMM, and this is basically what ties all of the functionality of the Apollos together. It gives you control over your core audio, which is a big deal here. For example, in this, when you go to the settings panel, and here's in the hardware tab, you can see all of my devices right here. While I'm here, I wanted to point out there's another two features that I forgot to mention on the Apollos. We now have line input gain bypass. So what that enables you to do is if you're working with, say, an external mic preamp or another device, you can bypass the gain module that is attached to the line and goes
going directly into the line input.
That's right. And likewise on the monitor output, you can disable the monitor output gain. So if you're using a summing mixer, you can take the monitor output and bypass the gain module and go straight out as if it's a line out. So that's really a great input-output workflow. Where I was going is with the core audio. This core audio section here is what we refer to as the flex driver. The flex driver lets you assign the number of input and output streams you want, and you can have up to 128 inputs and outputs. Pro Tools, for example, can only access 32 streams through core audio. So
it is called Pro Tools mode.
Yep. Yeah, it lets you fix 32. But then in this particular setup, I can assign, how do I want my mic preamps or my line inputs or whatever virtual channels to appear in the Pro Tools inputs and outputs window. So here I've got my 8 preamps from the 8P together, then I've got the 4 preamps for the Apollo 8, then I have 16 line inputs from my Apollo 16, and then I've got the 2 inputs from the Twin, and then I had 2 left over, so I went with 2 virtual channels on the Apollo 16 so I can bring back my Mac audio. Same thing on the output section. I'm using my Apollo 8 as my monitor output, and then I go directly to the 8P for the rest of my line outputs. Then I'm using these other Apollo outputs 1 through 4 as these extra Q outputs. And then I have my Apollo 16 line outputs. These are lined up symmetrically so I could use those for hardware inserts. Yeah, exactly. And then I've got my Twin outputs down there. And then I've got my 2 virtual channels if I wanted to use those as virtual outputs as well. So Flex Driver is a huge, huge advantage to being able to manage your core audio.
So let's just go through your setup here. You connect everything through one cable.
That's right.
The first one that you connected here is probably the Apollo 8. It's your monitor output.
Yes, but it doesn't have to be connected physically first. Okay. What you can do, in the settings panel, when you go to hardware, if you want to move it, just grab it and flip it. I'm not going to let it go because I have a Pro Tools session running at the same time. But I can move anyone in any order, and then that reorders the channel strips in the console as well.
And the Twin here functions as a monitor controller.
That's right.
So if we set this to monitor here, we can actually
up you go.
The switch, and you can see my monitor is being controlled here.
That's right.
So that's very nice to set up on a desktop if you have these stored in a rack somewhere and you can't access them.
And you have an instrument input right here. You have 2 microphone inputs in the back, mic line, and an extra pair of headphones. So it really is a nice desktop interface for the whole system.
We have a new product in the range here too. So you mentioned the Apollo Firewire, which is basically a remodeled old generation Apollo, just with the Firewire interface. But here we have the Apollo 8P. So you added 4 microphone inputs here.
That's right.
So 8P stands for 8 preamps.
That's right.
They're combo jacks.
That's right.
So you have a little more space on the back. And we have 6 outputs plus a monitor output.
Plus the monitor output, that's correct.
And this is only available in quad.
That's right.
All right, thank you very much for the rundown. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having us. Yep.